The Daleks were in a bit of a tight spot by the end of the 20th century. They had been waning in popularity ever since their third appearance in The Chase all the way back in 1965. However, in the first few series of the revived Doctor Who, Russell T Davies was able to fix the Dalek problem while also giving an outdated villain a proper send-off and tying multiple loose ends together with a multi-series narrative arc. While the common, widely believed opinion is that Stephen Moffat killed the Daleks, few people ever commend Davies for what he was able to do with the Daleks. But first, what is a Dalek? The Daleks are an iconic villain from the BBC show Doctor Who. Arguably the most iconic, the Daleks are a mutant alien race that seal themselves in metal tank-like shells. The Daleks removed all their emotions other than hate, believing that emotion is a weakness that prevents them from being the perfect soldiers. They demand total conformity and are hell-bent on conquering the universe and exterminating all life deemed inferior to the Dalek race, which is basically every other species. In a nutshell, they're basically space Nazis, complete with their own crazed dictator in the form of their creator Davros, the scientist who created the Daleks out of the humanoid Khaled race in the midst of a war against the Thals on their shared homeworld of Skaro. The Daleks were a huge hit for Doctor Who. The first serial of the show, An Unearthly Child, was largely ignored by the public because it wasn't really anything new. The creators of the show, Sidney Newman and Donald Wilson, wanted the show to be an educational series with no bug-eyed monsters, and so Terry Nation's Dalek script was initially thrown out.
And then these Daleks.
Daleks.
Exactly what I wanted to avoid. Cheap jack science fiction trash.
Have you read the script?
Yes.
Really?
Well, enough to know garbage when I see it.
The serial was only actually made because there was no other choice for the production team led by Verity Lambert, who later admitted, had we had anything else ready, we would have made that. However, the gamble of producing the Dalek serial more than paid off for the BBC. Not only did the serial prevent early cancellation of the show, it also captured the imagination of audiences all over the country and caused the BBC's first merchandise boom. The design of the Daleks was revolutionary at the time, with some sources claiming the design by Raymond Kuzik was like nothing that had been seen on television before. Fun fact, the original designer assigned to the serial was none other than Ridley Scott himself. It wasn't long before everyone in Britain had heard about the Daleks.
10 million viewers for your bug-eyed monsters.
With children all over the country running around screaming, "Exterminate!" at each other and buying all sorts of merchandise from toys, comics and even music singles. But this Dalek mania wouldn't last forever. The Daleks remained popular in many of their later appearances before being written out of the show in the 1967 serial Evil of the Daleks. This serial sends the Daleks out with a bang, literally, and seems to give them a fitting yet deserved retirement from Doctor Who. But you can't keep a good cash cow down for long. The Daleks made a not so triumphant return in the 1972 serial Day of the Daleks, with some critics calling their appearance pointless due to them being shoehorned into a script at the last minute. Coupled with bizarre Dalek voices and only 3 actual Dalek props, Day of the Daleks was the beginning of the end for Dalekmania. While there was the occasional hit like Genesis of the Daleks, audiences were tiring of the Daleks, and these once terrifying villains soon became the subject of constant jokes everywhere. So what exactly killed Dalekmania? It is hard to pin down a specific reason, but there are multiple different perspectives and contributions to the downfall of Dalekmania. Some could attribute it to the overuse of the Daleks, while others may simply link it to the general decline of Doctor Who's popularity, which culminated in the show's cancellation in 1989. Regardless of the reasoning, it is safe to say that by the time Doctor Who closed its doors after the 26th series, the Daleks were no longer the terrifying, formidable cultural juggernaut they once were. The year is 2003. It is mostly a year of disaster, war and sadness. But in the midst of a war with Iraq and deadly natural disasters, an announcement is made on September 26th. Doctor Who was going to return to TV with a brand new, full series produced by BBC Wales. People were excited, to say the least. For the first time since 1989, people were going to be graced with a full-length, revived series of Doctor Who. However, in the next 2 years, as the hype grew, there was one question on everybody's mind. What about the Daleks? It had almost been 40 whole years since the start of Dalekmania, and people were nostalgic for the pepper pots that once haunted their dreams all those years ago. You can't have Doctor Who without the Daleks, they said, but for a month, it was starting to look like this would happen. You see, the BBC has a weird style of licensing when it comes to Doctor Who. In the early days of the show, some writers owned their characters, and some didn't. The most high profile example of this is, you guessed it, the Daleks. The BBC, despite using the Daleks in all sorts of merchandise and programming, did not actually hold the rights to the characters. They never did. The Daleks were created by Terry Nation, who retained copyright until his death in 1997, when the copyright was transferred to his family estate. So what if they don't own the rights? The BBC could just negotiate with the estate to get them on board, right? Well, it wasn't so easy. On the 2nd of July 2004, fans of Doctor Who received some devastating news. The Daleks would not be appearing in the 2005 revived series. It was revealed that the negotiations between the BBC and the Terry Nation estate had broken down.
Your negotiations seem to have failed, Ambassador.
According to the BBC, the estate wanted too much editorial control, while the Nation estate cried foul play, accusing the BBC of trying to ruin the brand of the Daleks. And they even claimed that the broadcaster had tried to commission a cartoon about gay Daleks.
It's the gay Daleks!
Things were looking bleak for the Daleks and the revived series itself, but in response to this news, the British did what the British do best. They complained.
I'd like to complain about people who hold things up by complaining about people complaining. It's about time something was done about it.
At some point in the following month, a group of fans staged a protest march in Southampton. It is unknown whether this protest was effective, but on the 4th of August 2004, an entire month after announcing the Daleks would not be in the series, the BBC made a relieving announcement. Daleks were back on the menu. It is very possible that the public outrage did make the BBC and Nation's estate reach an agreement, but either way, the stage was now set for a proper Doctor Who series. Everything now fell to just one man, Russell T Davies. What followed was a highly successful revived series of the show that is still going to this day, and it is within the first 4 series of this revived era of the show that showrunner Russell T Davies was able to save the Daleks, and also give them the perfect send-off. But all of that is yet to come in this video series, so for now, goodbye, and I will see you in the next part where we examine how Russell T Davies brought back the Daleks for a triumphant return in the first series of the Doctor Who revived era.